All right then, thank you everyone. So, Hadeshawa, did you mention what? So, Buaki, did you mention? Wow. You're going to mention something about the previous person before you.
So, Mr. Okwe is a salesperson and he wants to learn more about project management.
Sir, Adidami is a marketing person. He wants to learn more about project management.
All right then. So, I think just to move it up and so that we don't keep ourselves waiting, I would just love to introduce our speaker. Before I even said our profile, I'm going to say we put it up and we put it on and the profile is looking very, very interesting. It's looking like we have dignitaries in our midst, literally. So, Faith Alfred is our facilitator for today, and she's a project management professional, like she likes to call herself, and a trainer. She's skilled in the art of delivering on projects. I've experienced that skill firsthand, and she has also, like she mentioned, she's a P3 expert. P3 is a specific methodology for delivering projects, and she's also the chapter lead for P3 Express in Nigeria, the Nigerian user group. So she's an international person, right? She's the founder of TFA Hub, which is the Faith Alfred Hub, there she basically trains people on specific skills and she connects them with like different opportunities. She's also, like you mentioned, a star performer, accelerates project management program, and she has been involved in multiple trainings such as the BMGA, the YALI, and also McKinsey Forward program. And we are blessed to have her in our midst, to have her as our facilitator and to take us through project management training. One random thing is, I was speaking to her and I was mentioning that, okay, you have about this particular minutes to share with us. And she was like, oh, I thought I actually had like 3 hours. And I was like, are you about to take us through 3 hours? And she said, oh, that's how she usually do the training. So she's someone that is very much skilled, and I'm sure that would benefit very immensely from our training today. So without much ado, let's welcome Miss Faith Alfred, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm super excited to be here. I hope you are too. Yeah. And I hope you're with your notes. Yes, because that's how you're going to benefit greatly from this. So this is 10:52. So it means I have to be done by 12:52. Right? 2 hours. Okay. So where do I start from? Yeah, we can go past this slide now. You already know me. So I'm going to be training you with the P3 Express methodology. And it means I'm going to be introducing you to the P3 Express methodology. So, but first off, I really like the fact that every one of us have an expectation. And so whether you are job hunting, whether you want to learn how to manage events better, whether you want to transition roles, you want to be able to get better opportunities in whatever roles you're in, project management is that skill. Right. So I always like to say that project management is that skill that you can add to any, it's like a skill that needs to be added to your skill set. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So let's do something quickly. I'd like everybody to tell me one skill they know they have. Like one skill that you know that you're very competent in. So let me have like 3 people. So give me like 3, I need 3 people to tell me a skill they are very competent in. So who's going to go first? Okay, thank you. Tell me your name and you can go.
My name is Oluwadamilola.
Okay, Oluwadamilola.
One of the skills I have is making a document, turning a document to anxiety.
Okay, so what skill can we call? Two more people. This is your time to blow your trumpet. Maybe nobody knew that about you. Now they know. So tell me one skill you are very competent in. Who else want to try? Okay. Awesome, you love teaching. So teaching is a skill. Thank you so much. So one more. Going. Everybody's looking at every other person's eyes. So we can call that sales, right? Persuasion. I think persuasion skills or persuasive skills. Awesome. So just the way you have all of those skill sets as a whole, as a skill, project management is also a skill. So aside from it being a profession, it being a career, stuff like that, it is also a skill. So it means it's a skill that you can add to your skill set. So skill set is like a box. Imagine a box, right? Maybe an engineer or something has a box of tools and all that. So your skill set is like your box of skills. So for the lady that likes to entertain people, that is a skill. If you want to add convincing skill to it, persuasive skill, that's a skill. So you can now add project management to whatever skill you already have. So why did I say all of that? I said all of that to say that irrespective of the career, irrespective of the phase or whatever you're currently doing, project management is a skill that you should have, and it's great that you're here. So can you give yourself a round of applause for being here today? You don't want to clap for yourself, give yourself a round of applause. Awesome. So like I said earlier, I'm going to be teaching you the P3 Express methodology. We prefer to call it the P3 Express method. So in project management, when you want to manage a project, there are different methods, and there are different guides. So we have PMBOK guide that is mostly used by PMI, Project Management Institute, and other guides. So this method I'm going to teach you is P3 Express method. It is focused on practicality. So you can learn project management with other guides, but you might not be able to manage a project because some guides are just purely theory. So you earn the certificate, you are called whatever you're called, but you're not able to literally manage a project. So the difference with P3 Express is that with P3 Express, within these few hours that we have here, you'll be able to manage a project from start to end. So in this training today, I'm going to be walking you through 1 and 2. That's high-level overview and the full review. So the full review is from project initiation to post-project management. So these are the sections you need to know if you want to manage a project from start to finish. Whether it's an event, whether it's a corporate project, whether it's a school project in your school, you love teaching in your school, you want to organize a party, or you want to have another school, whatever. A project is something that has a start and end date. Do you understand? So as long as you have a start and end date, it's a project. So whatever it is a project. So these are the principles you need to manage a project from start to finish. So let's get started. So we can go now. So again, I'm introducing to the P3 Express method. So P3 Express method works mostly for large, medium, and small projects. It doesn't work for mega projects. You might be wondering, how do I know when a project is small? How do I know when a project is medium or large? So let's find out. So let's move. We're going to see more as we go on now. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. So for a micro project, whenever you have 1 to 7 people working on a project, so I don't want to assume, but for this Bezalel project management event now, we can call it a project. Bringing this to life, we can call it a project. So I don't want to assume how many people brought this to life, but I would like to get a response. So how many people brought this to life, if I may ask? How many people brought this project to life? A rough estimate. He said many. So, but let's assume we have 1 to 7 people that brought it to life. So it means this project is a what? Micro project. So let's see for small project. How do we know when a project is small? Again, this is just an estimate. It's not like exactly, right, the numbers. So when you have like 20 people for a normal project, you can say, oh, that's a small project, and 50 for construction project. So 50, we can also move to the next slide. But 50 because for the same small project, because in construction project, you have more of what they call them now. Is it labor guys? And that's why the difference is much for construction projects. But for a normal project, 20 for small project, 50 for medium project, and for large project, you have a higher number of 150. So this is how you know. So I want everybody to think of a project you're currently managing or that you've managed before. How many of you managed it together? if you were around 50, then you know that's a medium project. If you were like 150, that's how the team, that's a large project. So what I'm trying to say with this slide is to let you know that P3 Express, what I'm about to teach you, the method I'm about to show you, can work for large, medium, and small projects. So now let's go to the next slide. Let's keep going. So, you know, I said that when I started, I talked about guides, that when you want to manage a project, there are guides that will help you. So, but the difference with P3 Express is that P3 Express is not a guide, it's a roadmap. And I like to use this description a lot. I've used it so many times. So I said, everybody look at me now. Imagine yourself in a forest and you are lost. I'm sorry, you will not be lost. But you are lost, right? And there are two methods. Somebody calls you on the phone and say, okay, turn to the left. When you turn to the left, a forest there is a path on the floor, maybe like a white, this thing they use in athletic, right? So there's a path on the floor that just shows you the way out of the forest. Which one is easier? Please answer sincerely. Which one will easily lead you out of the forest? The path. So P3 Express is a roadmap. It shows you, it literally tells you what to do every day when you're managing a project, every week, every month when you're managing a project. Compared to a guide, it's good. A guide is the guides are what has been available, it's good, but again, it's complex. And you can learn the guide, and you might still not be able to manage a project, and so on. I don't know if you get the difference now. Awesome. So, we see Prince 2, the ones in green are roadmaps, Safe, Less, Nexus, those are roadmaps. But guides are PMBOK, PM2, and all that. So let's go. So this is me just giving you the difference between a guide and a method to let you know why the importance of this method you're about to learn now. So again, minimalistic and maximalist. So P3 Express focuses on what's important. So for instance, there are so many things that needs to be done to manage a project, right? So but P3 Express brings out the important things, focuses on the important activities that will help you to manage a project, rather than saying, do all of this to help you, the 80-20 rule. Who knows the 80-20 rule? Where you can use, Pareto rule, where you use 20% work to achieve 80% result. Like you use small efforts to get more results rather than using so many efforts to get. So that's what P3 Express is about. So let's move to the next slide. Again, P3 Express, the ones in green, like I said earlier, these ones are for any kind of project. So in project management, we have niches. We have some guides that are specific to some type of project. So for instance, this one in gray, for instance, we have Safe, we have Kanban. Those ones are for instance, Kanban and Scrum, these are used for IT projects. Project that, they have short lifespan and have sprints. You might not understand that, but what I'm just trying to say is that P3 Express and those ones in green, they work for any kind of project. So you don't have to bother and say, oh, I'm planning an event. I don't know if this your method will work for my kind of event. No, it works for any kind of project. Do we get that? So let's move to the next slide now. Again, P3 Express, you can use it. It's free. Do you understand? The method is free. You don't have to pay for it. So let's move to the next slide. Okay. Now, this is the P3 Express system. Can you repeat after me? Can you say the P3 Express system? Yes. So this is what this training is going to be about. So I'm going to literally walk you through all the activities in this system. And once you're able to understand the activities from A1 to G01, you'll be able to manage the project effectively. Are we good? So let's move. So let's move to the next slide. So this is the whole process. We can move faster at this point now. So there are 33 management activities, and we have 7 activity groups. We have 5 cyclic activity groups. So when I mean cyclic, it's just simple logic. The ones that are round, they are cyclic activities, and we have 2 linear. So that's 5 plus 2. That's 7 altogether activity groups. So we can move. So we're going to start with project initiation. So there is a danger here that I want to let you know. Move to the next slide. Okay. There's supposed to be like a red line. So people usually, the reason why projects fail is because people start their projects after A10. Can you see the screen very well? Can you see where A10 is? So people usually start their project from there, meaning a lot of people do not do that's the whole project initiation. And that's a lot of reasons why many projects fail. So you might be wondering, okay, so you're trying to say project initiation is very important. Yes, it is very important, and that's what I'm going to walk you through. So at this point, this is where you set up your team. This is where you gather your team. This is where you do your high-level planning. This is where you decide whether to execute the project or not. I said that this is why many projects fail, and this is why. Because it is at this point you decide whether to execute. There's a difference between planning and executing a project. So planning is when you're saying, oh, this is what we want to do, this is how we want to do it. Executing is when you say, now we have our plan. Now let's start. Thank you. Let's start. So a lot of people just jump to starting without doing this. So it is in project initiation you decide whether to start or not. You understand that as we go ahead. So let's move. Yeah, I said this is the red line I was talking about. That's where the project is supposed to be executed from. And I'm just going to walk you through project closure. What happens in project closure? Let's see. This is where you tie up end loose. You're done with the project, you wrap up, you hand over the product, right? You archive documents. Again, let me bring it to your attention. I'm just doing what's the word now? I'm doing an overview. So we're going to now start taking each of these activities one by one. So just follow me as I run through them at first. So again, after project closure, that's where your project ends, and you can also have post-project management afterward. So this is the circle before we go in detail. So let's move now. You also have monthly initiation. Again, I'm doing a rundown. So what do you do in monthly initiation? Let's see. So this is where you do a detailed plan of the upcoming project. I'm tempted project, right? It means P3 Express tells you what to do. I said something earlier, if you remember, that P3 Express tells you what to do every day, every week, every month of a project. So if you have 6 months to work on a project, so it means you go through this cycle how many times? 6 times. So it means it tells you what to do literally every time, and that's why I said it's a roadmap. Does it make sense now? Cool. So this is where you check for justification. Then we can go to monthly closure now. So the same way we had project initiation, project closure, we have monthly initiation. That means what you do at the beginning of the month and what you do at the end of the month. And that's where you evaluate your stakeholder satisfaction, you plan for improvement, and you wrap up things. So now let's move to the next thing there. Weekly management. So again, what do you do every week of your project? You measure performance. When it's time to go deep into this, I will now show you why many projects fail again. So let's go. You realign and all that. So let's just run through this part. What do you do every day too? You measure deliverable, you manage follow-up items. All of this we're going to be looking at today. So let's just go. Yeah. Then post-project management. When you are done with your project, it's actually important that you do post-project management. That means what happens after the project. And 2 things are important. You want to measure the benefit of your project, and you want to design the actions next. Like, what do we do next now that we've completed this project? So that's that about that. So yeah, I've been able to successfully walk you through the whole diagram. So when I start going into detail, it will not look strange. Are we on the same page to this point? Awesome, thank you. So let's start. So we're starting with project initiation. So project initiation. So now at this point, if you're not taking notes before, at this point, let's take note. Okay, let's take note at this point. So remember I said that this is why so many projects fail. Yeah. So you need to take notes. You need to take note at this point. So during project initiation, the very first activity we have here, can we say it together? Can we say it together? Let's say it together. Yes. So at this point is where you appoint the sponsor. So you might be wondering, who is the sponsor? Why is there a need to appoint a sponsor? So many projects, right, start off because, we already have a project manager, so you think that there is no need for a project sponsor. So a project sponsor is the one that has like the highest level of authority. So for instance, mommy is in school and you want to have a project, a project. So I'm assuming you're a teacher, right? So if you want to have a project and you are the one managing the project, so who is going to be the sponsor for that project? Most likely your principal or maybe the HOD or something like that. So a project sponsor is the person that has the highest level of authority. Can you say that after me? Highest level of authority. Yes. And this person is the, also has, is the person that is supposed to decide the finance. Do you understand? Oh, how much do we need for this project? So this sponsor is the one that can give out money. This sponsor is the one that determines the justification of the project. So you as the project manager, you're excited, you just want to launch in and start a project. But the project sponsor is the one that decides whether the project launches out or not. Do you understand? So P3 Express says that for every project you do, you must have a project sponsor. For every project you do, you must have a project sponsor. And another thing P3 Express will say is that ensure that your project manager is not your project sponsor. Why? I'm going to tell you. Because as a project manager, you focus more on the little details, like everything that happens in the project. But the project sponsor, doesn't care about that. Your principal, for instance, if you want to manage, doesn't care about, you want to buy salt. No, all she cares about is the high-level information. Okay, what do we need to do? And all that. So P3 Express emphasizes that your project sponsor should be different from from you as a project manager. So it's very important that you appoint the sponsor. So when you've appointed the sponsor in your project, then you can move to activity 2. The next activity is appoint a project manager. You can take that down. Appoint a project manager. So after you have a sponsor, you want to ensure that your project has a project manager, and that will be you. I'm assuming that will be you if you don't manage the project. That is very simple. Then activity 3. Okay, before we move to activity 3, now let's see the difference. I told you that you should ensure that your sponsor is not the same person as your manager, project manager, and here's why. So there's a difference, a clear difference. So from this diagram, I'm sure that you already have an idea of whatever I want to say now. So organizational power. Who has more organizational power? Who has more time for the project? Great. So who provides more strategic mindset? The sponsor. Who has more of the soft skills? The project. Why? Because he's the one really executing the stuff. Then micromanagement. I'm happy you got that right. So neither the sponsor nor the manager should micromanage anybody. Let me just assume maybe you don't know what micromanagement is. You want to ensure that you are not stalking people. P3 Express actually is big on that you don't micromanage people, right? If you tell somebody to do it, just follow up. Don't necessarily just stay on their head to make sure. Let me give you an instance. So you call I don't know, maybe I'll say a carpenter now or whatever, to come and fix a door. Everybody, let's look at this door. So you call somebody. What do we call people that fix doors? Do we say carpenter or what now? This door, this type of door. So, what you are concerned about is maybe as a project manager, you say, we need to fix this door. We need it to be this type. We need it to have this handle and all that. So, but do you come and tell the aluminum person, say, when you're bringing the door, carry it like this, put the nail like this, hit the hammer like this. Do you do all of that? That's micromanagement. Do you understand? So they know what to do. Your own is just to follow up to get it done. So P3 Express is big on no micromanagement. So let's move. So the next thing, what's the next activity here? Key team members. Emphasis on key team members. So this is where you appoint your key team members. Another thing P3 Express is big on is that you want to ensure that, and this is why many projects fail. Emphasis on why many projects fail. You want to ensure that the key members that initiated the project, they should be part of the people that would execute the project. I don't know if you get that. And this is why. Because if you have a team that knows that they are not going to execute the project, let's be fair. Do you think they will put their all into it? And if you have a team that is supposed to execute the project, but they didn't plan it with you, is it going to be balanced? No. So P3 Express is big on when you're appointing your key team members, ensure that these guys are also going to be the ones to execute the project, because there's a whole lot around this planning thing that you have to do with your key team members, and that's why it is the number 3 activity. So you have to have your team members. So in case you've been managing projects before and you've been the only one thinking about everything, you're the one thinking about, want to do this, want to do that. No. ensure that the key people that would execute are also part of the people that you are planning things, and you understand better as I go ahead, because in this initiation phase, there are a lot of things that you need to do as a team, and one of which is describe the project. Let's move to the next slide. You describe the project. So how do you describe the project? You know, it's very easy to, remember I said, how do I put this now? I was at a project management conference in Lagos last week Saturday, and the trainer said that everybody is a project manager informally. Do you know why? Because your life is a project. True, that's what she said. She came from the UK for that program. She's also a big person in project management. She said your life is a project. So if your life is a project, you are the one managing your life, aren't you? So it means you are a project manager. So why are we having this training? To help you. Why I said that to say, one way or the other, you've been managing projects. Aside from your life, other things. So you're having this training in order to know how to manage projects better, more efficiently, and have more successful project outcomes. Are we good? Cool. So Peter Express number 4 activity says, describe the project. So what does it mean to describe the project? In describing the project, you want to state the purpose and the benefits of the project. At this point, let's have a project now. Who can give us a project scenario? Does anybody want to try? Let me know, or let me know whether I should just go ahead. Who wants to give us a project scenario? Maybe you are managing a project at the moment, and you want us to use it for this training. Thank you so much, ma.
I want to organize a Christmas party for the children in the church. Yes.
I think it's a plus that you gave your project as an example, because it will make it easy. So, Mom said that in their school, in their church, they want to have a Christmas party for the children. Remember I said an event can be a project as well. So how do we make this happen? So let's go back to the beginning based on your project. So what's the first thing we do? I don't know if you've been taking notes. What's the first thing you do? Appoint the sponsor. So who will be the sponsor in this case now? Will it be your pastor or the church? No, it has to be a person. That's another thing. That's why it's important to have scenarios. Welcome, Victor. Victor came all the way from Oyo State or your town to attend this conference. Welcome, Victor. Yes. So I said we're going to do a brief recap based now that we have a real project to manage. So appoint the sponsor. So for this project where we want to create a Christmas party for children in church, who is going to be the sponsor? Brokwe. Who is Brokwe? No. Who is Brokwe? So is the senior pastor going to have time? Fine, he doesn't have to have enough time, but is he going to have ample time to listen and give? So we need someone that will have ample time to listen and do all that. No, what is his role? Don't say Brokwe. What is his role? So that not everybody knows Brokwe. No, what is his role in the church or in the organization? Okay, I think that makes sense now. So, as the chairman of the planning committee, if it's the chairman of the planning committee, I hope he's not also the project manager of the... So, who is managing the project? Are you the one, Ma? Okay. Ma, what's your name? Mrs. Onoinka? Onoyiga, thank you so much. So Mrs. Onoyiga is our project manager. Mr. Okpe is our sponsor. So, for the sake of this training, so don't be scared. So what's the third thing from your notes? What's the third thing? Appoint key team members. So Mrs. Onoyiga, I want to believe that you already have a team. Okay, if there's a chairman, it means there's a committee. So now, you want to describe the project. So let's go. How do you describe the project? So you probably want to take note of this for your project, everybody. So the first thing you want to do is state the purpose and the expected benefit. The reason why you have to know the benefits or know the purpose of your project is so that you don't end up delivering something that is not. So you want to write it down. What's the purpose of this project? We want children to be happy. Now I'm just trying to guess it. I want you to give me the feedback. Or we want to impact children's lives. Or whatever it is, state it. Now you want to know the expected cost and duration. Maybe it's like a day, or like few hours and all. Everything has to be in your project description. And this project description needs to be at the initiation phase of the project. What's the third thing here? Requirement and quality expectation. So if you want to have a children party, what are the requirements? What are the things that need to be in place? Of course, we'll still see this in detail, right? But of course, what are the things that need to be in place? We'll see it when we are talking about planning. Yeah, this is still description. When we are talking about planning, see this planning the project. Oh, we need a Father Christmas. Yes. Okay, we need bouncing castle. Awesome. So these are requirements. So quality expectation. What will be quality expectation for you? What has to be in place for you to say, oh, this, like, quality expectation is like success criteria. So what are the things that have to be in place for you to say this project is a success? This Christmas carol was a success. Maybe everything going according to time and all that. So you want to make sure everything is written down. In scope and out of scope elements, high level. So you want to ensure that you have everything detailed. So imagine Mr. Olonga, as the project manager has already said, for this project, this is what we are doing. We're having bouncy cattle, and the cost has featured that, the duration has featured that. Then the sponsor or the senior pastor comes, or somebody else comes and says, for these children, let's have something else. I'm trying to think of something else that is outside what you plan. Just something else entirely. I said, let's add it to the project. Remember, you already have your budget that has been fixed. So somebody else comes and says, let's do this that is outside your project. So you want to make sure you write everything that is needed to achieve that project. So that when somebody comes with things that are outside scope, you can know. Now let me give you a secret. If you are not careful as a project manager, and there's something called change requests. Just say, oh, let's change this, let's add this, let's not use bouncy cattle again, let's use this video. Huh? Good. So before, the plan was to bring them inside, right? But somebody comes and says, let's take them out. Remember, your budget was based on putting them inside. So, but because as a project manager, you're excited. It's true, let's take them out. Definitely, you somehow you are going out of scope, which can affect your budget and your cost. We'll see more in details as we go. So the last thing that has to be in your project description is your list of stakeholders. So list of stakeholders are, all the people that are involved in the project, all the people that will be impacted by the project, all the people that will benefit from the project. Those are your stakeholders. So all these stakeholders has to be in your what? Your project description document. So let's highlight 3 stakeholders for this project. Let's do this. So I want to hear from you. Where's the mic? Anybody can talk. The children, the teachers,
The church.
the church. The church is too vague,
Okay,
don't you think?
The adults.
The adults in the church, the parent also. All the people involved should be written down and noted down. So, no, let's go back. Anyone can understand what the project is by reading this document. So let's say you have somebody externally, or somebody that, maybe the senior pastor now, is not involved in your planning. But by the time you show him this project description, he totally has an idea of what you are doing. So that's another importance of this, right? So you want to make sure that it is 1 page or 2 pages. And again, this description can be updated during the course of the project. You understand that as we go ahead. Let's move. Are we on the same page now? Thank you. So let's see. You can sit down. So this is an example of a project description. If you notice, you can take a picture of it if you want. If you notice, if you notice, all the things we talked about before are here. Did you notice? The purpose, the expected benefits, the requirements. You want to list everything. What are the major users and all that? Who are the stakeholders? Can you see that? The sponsor, the PM, your cost and duration, everything. Let's move to the next slide. So now we're done with describing the project. Now we want to identify and plan the deliverables. Let's see. Let's go back. So let me stay on that for a bit. So I mentioned that it's very important that you highlight your requirements. So when it comes to planning for deliverables, in P3 Express, there is something called deliverable map. Can you say that after me? Deliverable map. So deliverable map has in details all the requirements for your project. So let's plan the deliverables. So deliverables are things that needs to be done to make your project a success. Those are what deliverables. So let's highlight 5 deliverables for this children party project now. Let's do quickly. So let's do that quickly. Remember, I'm intentionally making this engaging so that when you go back home, you have an idea of how to really manage the project. So let's talk. Oh, I want 5. Let's say 5. 5 deliverables. Give me 5 things that needs to be done to ensure this children party is a success.
Cooking.
More people have to talk. Cooking the food. Awesome. That's deliverable 1. Money. How can we make it a deliverable?
Generation.
Okay, you want to raise money for the event. Okay, so maybe you say something like fundraising is a deliverable. Yes, so it has to be written down that we want to cook. Cooking has to be sorted. Raising fund is a deliverable. What did he say? How do we write that now? Bringing in or reaching out to a Father Christmas, or the Father Christmas can be anybody. Yes, Santa Claus. What else? One more. Souvenirs. I mean, you don't have plan for souvenirs for your children. So you want to include it. So the reason for the importance of this part is that by the time you and your team, that's the committee now, you sat down and said, what are the things? You want to make sure you are listing everything. And that's why I said you must not do it alone as a project manager. You have to do it as a team so that you don't miss out anything. The benefit of identifying and planning the deliverables is, you don't go, you don't go halfway into the project and realize that, we didn't plan for this, so I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So that's why at the very beginning, remember that we've not started executing or we're still planning. So you want to think through and ensure that you are listing everything that needs to be done. One secret I use, because especially over the past few weeks, I've been managing like several events just in these few months, right? So one secret I use that has worked for me is I walk through the events. How do I put it now? I want you to imagine with me, everybody. So imagine that today is the Christmas party. What time is it supposed to start? Maybe by 12 o'clock. So before it starts by 12 o'clock, what are the things that should have been in place? I don't know if you are getting what I'm saying. So I want you, that's what works for me. And P3 Express also follows that method. You want to travel into that event, travel into that project in your mind. So, okay, you come into the church or before then, what needs to be in place? Sometimes you might even forget that you need a photographer. So that's why you need to think through. Okay, as the Santa Claus is talking, there needs to be gifts beside the Santa Claus, not just the one that will be shared. So by the time you travel in your mind into that event or into that project, you'll be able to list all the deliverables. So is that secret helpful? Thank you. So let's go to the next thing. Let's move to the next thing now. Activity A06. Can we see it? Can we say it together? This is one of my favorite parts. You identify risks and plan responses. So, risks are uncertainties that you didn't plan for. I'm going to say it again so that you can, because we're going to give me risk for this event. Risks are uncertainties that you did not plan for. So, let's identify 3 risks that can happen for this project, that can come, uncertainties that can happen. Who wants to try? Okay, sir. There's somebody at the back. Let's give you the mic. If you want to talk, you can raise your hand too.
Insufficient food.
Insufficient food. That's amazing. That's a risk because what do you do? So it's a risk. You want to note it down. Risk in your risk register. In P3 Express, we call it follow-up register. We're going to see that. Go ahead. Number one risk, insufficient food. Remember that we are doing 2 things there. What are the 2 things we are doing? We're identifying and planning for it. So when we identify the risk, you are now going to plan for it ahead. Mr. Okwe wants to give us the solution to that or the response to that. What's the response to that? What is the response you have to, what response will you document in case that happens? Or do you want to answer it? Right? Project manager. But making provision for extra. What if you plan for 200? So are you saying that you would keep 50 extra? Okay. So people that did not get food. But me, I won't be happy if my friend got surprised. Me, I'm getting started. Is that the sufficient risk response? Project description. Okay. Increase number of people applying floor. Okay. Okay. I actually wanted to hear something that I feel like maybe by work. Do you want to say something else? So, I feel you can keep, this is just on my head now. You can keep some amount of food. Because if you say, and we're expecting 200, you now make 250 food. If you bring the old 250 food at once, do you understand? So my response, or my suggested response, I hope it works, is to keep, maybe even instead of keeping 250, 50 you can keep 100. Go and hide it. There's no food. So it is when maybe everything is done and it looks like genuinely some people have not gotten food, you now go and bring that one out. Is that a good? Awesome. So let's have one more risk. Instead of let's do one more. Okay. Insufficient funds. Can that be a risk? Because if you do your number 4, if you describe your project, you know you are doing the cost there. Okay, first of all, say something. Where's the mic? You say that's a major risk. Some people are agreeing with you. Thank you, sir. So the children can get injured. So what's the plan for that? Once you have children injured, what's the response for that? Awesome. Now I want you to respond. I want everybody to respond to this sincerely. If I think that's the pastor. Well done, sir. If you had not said that, would you have planned for first aid? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. You would not have planned for first aid if not that he realized we talked about risk and you are now beginning to think. And that's what happens in a project. So in a project, you're just very excited. Let's do this party. But if you follow P3 Express method, P3 Express will say, identify your risk. So you want to sit down and think, what can happen? What can happen? What can go wrong? Have you not thought of it that what if rain falls? You know, children now, maybe their parents don't want them to step out in the rain. What if rain falls? That's another risk. Instead of starting by 12, maybe the rain starts 12 and ends by 2. I don't know the solution to that. Think about it. So you want to identify and plan for responses. So let's go to activity 7. Okay, you know I told you that in P3 Express we have a follow-up register. So a follow-up register is the document where you write and take note of your risk and your responses. So this is an example, but we will not go through the example since we already discussed an example. So let's go on. So you want to, in your risk register, you want to write the costs. What can cause this risk? What's the impact of this risk? No, let's go back. What's the impact of this risk? What's the response of this risk? Now, one thing I didn't say is you want to put a custodian. TBD means to be determined. So you want to put a custodian to this risk. So, sir, what's your name? You talked about insufficient food. What's your name? Mr. F.A.M.E. So Mr. F.A.M.E. suggested the insufficient food risk. So as the project manager, you can say, okay, Mr. F.A.M.E., since you suggested this risk, be the custodian for that risk. So custodian means that you are the one in charge of that risk. You are the one in charge of ensuring that the response we plan for that risk is actualized. I don't know if you get. The reason for that is you as the project manager, you might be so occupied on that day. You might not even think of, you might see a child injured and you might not even remember that they're expected. But because somebody is in charge, so all the person is looking out on that day is for injured children to solve it. So that's another benefit for having a custodian. I hope you took note of that. So let's move. Are we on the same page? Awesome. So let's go to the next activity. Have project initiation peer reviewed. Have project initiation peer reviewed. So what this means is that you know that everything we've been doing so far is project initiation, right? So you want to make it peer reviewed. What it means is that your project's description document and your follow-up register where you wrote your risk, all of your documents. So you now want to carry it as a project manager. You want to take it to somebody that is also an expert in project management. The person might not necessarily be a project manager by title, but the person has maybe like an idea. So if you want to think of anybody in the church like that, who are you going to think of? Quickly. Maybe you are still thinking of. You can't think of anybody. So it doesn't have to be somebody in the project. It can be somebody outside the organization. Outside, maybe you have a fellow teacher in your school that is good in managing projects. So P3 Express says that what you've done so far, your project plans, everything, carry it and give it to the person that, oh, this is our plan. Remember, we've not started executing. This is our plan. Can you review it? P3 Express says that the benefit for this is that you get to you as project manager, due to your proximity to the project, there are some errors you will not see. Do you understand? And you also get to learn. So by the time you take it to your fellow project manager or whatever and say, please review this stuff, the person can say, oh, you missed this and you missed that. So it is very important that you peer review. As we go ahead in today's training, you learn more about peer review. Let's move. What's the next activity, everybody? Can we say that louder? Make a go, no-go decision. So this is the point where you determine whether you are to move forward in the project. And who can guess, let's go back, who can guess who gives the go-ahead? I said it earlier. The sponsor. Awesome. You see that you are not struggling academically, Mr. Okwe. So, it is at this point you make a go, no-go decision. You know I said that we have reviewed it, right? You've reviewed it by your peer. So you now take it to the sponsor, which is Mr. Okwe in this case, and say, Mr. Okwe, this is our project plan. Oh. We've planned for the following risk. We've responded to this risk. Look at this. Should we still go ahead with the children party or not? So Mr. Okwe goes and says, okay. He looks at it. And he takes it to the people top, that's the senior pastor, maybe the senior pastor's wife, and maybe the board or something, and they look at your document and look at everything. Can you see that that's why it's very important to have a very detailed project description document? So Mr. Akwe goes back to the pastor and everybody, senior stakeholders, and say, this is what we have for the children party. Should they go ahead? Is it visible or not? Or pastor can say, I'm not sure about this. Those children, they will injure themselves too much. I can't afford to do this. Let's cancel it because somebody brought it out in the risk and all that. So if the sponsor says yes or go, then you can go. But if the sponsor says no, let's not do this, I'm sorry, you have to jump to project closure, close the project. You can't continue with it. So this is why so many projects fail. People skip this part. So there is nobody to review it to say, is this project feasible or not? Should you go or should you not go? After all the plans and everything. So because people jump that process, they end up starting the project and failing at it. Instead of getting the review and say, this thing might not work. So I want to ask a very sincere question. Is it better to do all the work? You might feel, after all the work, how would they not say, mommy especially can be very angry and say, after all the work we've done, how can pastor say we should not have this party? No. You will be angry. Your team will be angry because you put a lot of work. But that, compared to you now doing it without approval or whatever and failing, which one is better? Do you understand? So, P3 Express method says that it is important for you to have a go or no-go decision. So let's move to the next activity. So activity A09, we are almost done with project initiation. Kick off the project. So this is where you kick off. That's if you have a goal. That's if you get a goal. Then you kick off the project. You tell the team, oh, we are ready to do this. Pastor has approved of this children party. Let's get started. Then the next activity, A10, is conduct a focused communication. Next slide. Focused communication is big on, and P3 Express is big on communication. It's big on communication, I did a talk on this aspect, the two major aspects of communication in P3 Express. It's not yet out here. I would have said you should go and check it out. But again, P3 Express is focused on it's big on focused communication. That means you carry everybody along. So maybe pastor comes to announce, or maybe the project manager, Mr. Okwe, the sponsor. No, maybe the project manager. Yeah, the project manager is the one in charge of communications. So you come out and say, oh, everybody, we're having this project. Maybe you tell the executive of the church and all that, the youth, and say, we're having this project. It's important because it helps keep everybody informed. Even other people that are not working on the projects, if they are able to contribute, they get to contribute. So it is very important to communicate. Let's move to the next slide. It's very important to communicate during your project. So we have successfully finished project initiation. We are going to monthly initiation, meaning what you do every month of your project. So can we move on? This student party, how many more months do we have towards? It's already here, Abby. Okay. 6 weeks. Okay. So this project might not really work for, this children party project might not work for the monthly initiation, but it's good that you know it in case you are managing a project that will take months to complete. So what do you need to do every month when managing a project? So the first thing is revise and refine the plan. Next slide. So you want to go back to your initiation phase, what we did before. Let's move faster now. You want to go to your initiation, go back to your documents and review stuffs, right? So you want to say, okay, in our project description, we had this list of stakeholders. We had this, we had that. Are we still going with the exact same plan? Or the sponsor comes and say, hey, please add Sayo to the team because there's a need for technical hand and all of that. So you remember that it was not in your initial plan, but because you now want to plan for the month, you want to update your project description. So it's very important to update it if need be. Let's move. Let's move to the next slide. Yeah, let's move now. So let's move. In P3 Express, there are 4 documents. You can take note of this. In P3 Express, there are 4 documents in P3 Express when managing a project. The first one, we've dealt with it, project description, deliverable map. Who remembers that deliverable map I talked about? Awesome. That is where you list all your deliverables. You break them down. If you see the map, it looks like a network of stuff. So we said a deliverable will be cooking food, right? Now, when you want to, that's a deliverable, but that deliverable also has other deliverable. So if you want to cook food, what are the things you need to do to make sure the food is being cooked or is cooked? Number 1, contact the vendor or list 10 vendors, 10 potential vendors. Then you want to get their quotations. Am I correct? Okay. Maybe because it's a church, so maybe you already have just one person doing that. But you want to make sure that you list all the things that need to be done under each deliverable. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But yeah, that's very important. So number 3 documents under P3 Express is follow-up register. Who remembers what we use follow-up register for? What do we use follow-up register for? Risk, right? So, you know I told you that we would have custodians and all that. So for your project description, any new or adjusted requirement, I already said this before, any new stakeholder, you had it there. Let's move. Can we move? So let's move faster. Let's go back a bit. So for your follow-up register, you want to say, did we introduce new follow-up items into the changes? Sorry, I think the risk is supposed to be for the health register, but we'll see more on that as we go ahead. So let's move faster now. Are we still together? Are we still together? So remember, what are we talking about now? What cycle are we talking about? What cycle are we talking about? Monthly initiation, because there are 2 monthly stuff. So monthly initiation, monthly closure. But we're currently looking at monthly initiation. So the same way you peer reviewed during initiation. So if you have 6 months to manage a project, month 1, you review everything again. After reviewing everything again, you go back to peer review. P3 Express will tell you that you can decide to use another person as your peer reviewer. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. P3 Express actually says it's preferable you use different people. So if the first time you used Mrs. Tolu, next time use Mr. BC. Do you understand? So people that are experienced, like I said, in that. So let's move. Remember we did it in, go back. That is showing you that, you peer review here, you peer review there, and you are still going to peer review at the end. So let's go. So whatever your peer reviewer says, have you thought of somebody that's your peer reviewer? Give me a name. Give us a name. Mommy. Omidi, she's a church member. Okay. She's good in planning, right? Okay, she's a teacher. So whatever, when you take your plan to Mommy Omidiji and say, this is our plan, please can you review this? And Mommy Omidiji can say, you people forgot this. You forgot water for the kids. You forgot this and that. So everything your peer reviewer says, you take it back to your health register. Can we see that? The reason you might be wondering, what's the point of different documents? As you go along, you will see why they are important. Because different different documents for different things. Let's go over them again. What should be in your project description? What's the importance of our project description? Let's just do a quick recap. You can just say one. To list our purpose and benefit, right? What's the purpose of what do we use deliverable map for? Deliverables. What do we use to follow up register for? Our risk, right? What do we use health register for? From the word health, you've taken your project to the hospital, right? And they say, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So the report, you take it to the health register. So let's move. So again, you make a what? Go or no go decision. So every month, you want to ensure that you are getting a go ahead. This is why many projects fail actually. Because you feel like, we already got the first go ahead. Then every month we need to just be jumping. No. Because do you know why you need to always get a go ahead every time? Because you are always revising your plans. You are always adding things to it. Maybe you are removing and all that. So there's a need to always get a go or no go decision from our sponsor. And who is our sponsor in this case? Let me know if we are still together. Who is our sponsor in this case? So let's move to the next thing. Okay. So let's see. Can we see what's inside there? It's like, okay. So this is our latest understanding of the project. Shall we continue with the next cycle? That's the project manager talking now. You're talking to your sponsor. So what does the sponsor say? Let me check with few people and get back to you. Did you remember what I said earlier? That Mr. Akwe goes to the senior pastor and all. So this is literally trying to get a go or no go decision. So let's move. So this is Mr. Akwe in purple. Mr. Akwe is the purple avatar, talking to the yellow guys. So the yellow guys are like the top guys, the pastor and all that. So Mr. Akwe says, seems like this project still makes sense. Should we continue? And if they say, okay, let's continue, then you can continue. So again, you can see that is like a danger mark. The project manager is not the one that should speak directly to the top guys. Maybe in a church project like this, maybe it might be different because you already used to yourselves and all that. But in an organizational setting, you as the project manager, you want to ensure that you are taking instruction from only one person. And who should that person be? The sponsor. So, sometimes you have a lot of problems in managing a project and you feel like, where is the problem? The problem is because you are taking instruction from too many people. And you're trying to talk to the CEO. You're trying to talk to the COO. You're trying to talk. No. As the project manager, you should only be talking to the sponsor who can be the COO, not necessarily the CEO, because the CEO can be too busy. Do you understand? So that's why there's a danger sign, because a lot of projects fail because of that reason. Peter SS is pointing it out. So let's see this illustration. Scenario 1. Move to the next slide. Move. Scenario 1. If you get a green light, it says, what does it say? So congratulations if you get a green light. But if you don't get a green light, what happens? Remember what I said? You jump to project close. You're going to close the project. Sorry about that. Let's move. So again, just the way we kicked off, because we got a go-ahead during the initiation, project initiation. So you also kick off too, that month. So at the beginning of month 1, let's assume we have 6 months, not this children project now. You have 6 months. At the beginning of the first month, you've done all of this activity, and you've gotten a go-ahead for that month, then start. If you don't, you end. So let's see the last activity there. Let's move. So, you talk to your team and all of that. Conduct a focused communication. So, remember I said something. I said, P3 Express is very big on communication. You want to ensure that you are communicating as project manager.